Well, Peters is familiarizing himself with that building right there. It's its 1 week anniversary.
I know. I feel like we should have brought a cake in this morning. So, yes, after 1 week after being sworn in, Scott Peters is joining us this morning to talk about his new position. We want to talk about all the important things, like, what do you think about the panda?
Excited about the panda. The panda's cute.
Yeah,
good for us.
We've been talking about it all morning.
Are you used to being called Congressman Peters yet?
I prefer people to call me Scott. I always say if you're old enough to vote, you should call me Scott.
Scott.
So,
all right, tell us about it. It had to be a huge day a week ago. We talked to you on the phone, but tell us more.
well, you know, a lot of it's been orientation so far, and we had a big swearing in on Thursday, but we spent a lot of time getting briefed on issues and getting to know one another. There's 85 new Congress members. This is a tremendously large portion of the entire Congress.
What are we looking at there, Scott? There's a picture.
That's a picture of my family and me, some of my nieces and nephews, my kids, and Speaker Boehner.
So you have a son and a daughter, and your wife. How did they go through all of this? How did they take it?
Well, you know, they're in college, so they, fortunately they were not here for the campaign, which was kind of rough on us.
Yeah.
But I think they're excited about seeing me work on some of these problems and trying to serve San Diego. My kids are native San Diegans and are big for making sure we take care of our own.
So 1 week into it, what's the experience been like so far? Are you just overwhelmed?
Well, I would say the overwhelming impression, Brandy, is that every single person who got elected this year got the same message, which was get in there, work together, and solve problems, stop bickering. So I was at a dinner the other night, and one of the most liberal new members from the Bay Area was talking to one of the most conservative guys from North Carolina, and they were talking about whether they could sit down over lunch and talk about how to solve some of these financial challenges. Well, I thought that was really impressive. You know, if that kind of attitude can filter up to the leadership of both parties, I think we'll be in good shape.
I talked to you about this a week ago or a couple weeks ago about a naive thought that suddenly you can get along. But you're saying that there's so many freshman congressmen, it is a good time to make a difference.
Well, you have to be an optimist in this business, Dave. I mean, if you don't get out of bed thinking you can do something, you might as well get another hobby because we really want to fix these problems. That's why we go. I've always said, I wouldn't. There's other places to travel than just Washington D.C. Although it's a nice place to visit. We all want to get things done. We'd all like to solve problems, and so it is. Maybe it's naive. I know that there's a lot of bad blood. There's not a good history in the last few years. Congressional approval is at 9%, but we're going to do everything we can to improve the record and get those numbers up.
Are we being a bit
right? We can't fall off the floor. Is what my friend says. Right?
Are we being a bit jaded, thinking that the honeymoon's not over yet? You're 1 week into it, and maybe things will start getting a little more difficult?
Well, if I were a voter, I'd be very skeptical. I think the performance of Congress has not been good in the last few years, and but it's really up to us to try to bring a new attitude. I'm game for it. I'm really eager to get started and to bring kind of the problem solving we used to do in San Diego, where you could argue and then go have a drink after work and be friends.
Let's talk about the issues that are front and center. One of them, of course, the task force that the Vice President is heading up on gun violence. Your thoughts on what's going on with that?
Well, I think we were all struck by how tragic it was and how stark a tragedy it was to have 6-year-olds gunned down like that. It's just awful. And I'm inclined to want to do something about it. I think we've looked at too many of these not to do anything about it. For me, it's got to be comprehensive. It does have to involve mental health, but I do think we have to look at the restrictions on guns as well. I don't see why we have weapons of war out on the street, why we have these huge packages of ammunition that people can get over the internet without a background check. And so I think there are a lot of holes to be closed, and let's talk about how we do that to keep our streets safe.
Debt ceiling?
Debt ceiling is the wrong vehicle. I mean, I think that there is a honest effort among Republicans that I respect to try to get us to reduce spending before we do more spending. But the debt ceiling is the wrong vehicle. The debt ceiling has to do with debts we've already incurred. Congress before us have incurred these debts. If we don't pay them, we're just looking at another credit downgrade. What we should be looking at in that context is let's have a fight over the continuing resolution or the budget or the sequester, which are all coming before us as well. I would like to have an honest discussion about how to get the budget under control. The debt ceiling is the wrong vehicle.
Is that something that freshman congressmen can really, really make a difference in, do you think?
Well, I hope so. I think, a lot of us noted in 2011, we thought that was kind of the low point where they messed around with the debt ceiling long enough that we got our credit downgraded as a nation for the first time in our country's history. We don't want to see that happen again. Not only do we not want to go through the debt ceiling thing, but we really want to tackle the budget challenges in the long run because the debt will crowd out spending that's important to middle-class families. And I think a lot of us are concerned in the long run that that's a problem. We have to do something about it now.
I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that $1 trillion coin that we've been talking and hearing all about.
I'd love to get it. I'd love to have a copy.
Wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all? But
no kidding.
Do you think that's just a bit hokey?
I think it's a little gimmicky. I mean, I understand people are really doing whatever they can to avoid another one of these credit downgrades, which I get, but let's all get to work and maybe we can come up with something that's a little more substantive and long-lasting than a $1 trillion coin.
Okay, where do you go from here? What's short-term for you?
I'm going to a couple events. I'm going to an event at Qualcomm tomorrow, and going to be visiting some folks over the weekend, seeing people in San Diego. I'm back on a plane on Monday to go back to D.C. We're going to take some votes and then inaugurate the president the following weekend.
Piling up those frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, busy schedule. Thanks for finding
Say
time
hi
for
in the
us.
airport when you're out there.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Good to see you.